The Flogcast may occasionally contain explicit content that makes it not safe for work or for minors. It also doesn't provide an excuse to use the same words on Bay 13. Normal big footy rules still apply.
Alright, so this is the Flogcast for the trade and free agency period. The emotionally checked out Tiger Starburns is here, and I'm joined by the Mayor of East Geelong, Teach.
Hello there.
I've forgotten all these intros, Dan.
Of course you have. I wouldn't expect it any other way.
Fucking...
You can't get it right during the season, so why would you get it right during the off-season, mate?
The Flogcast resident piano man, Dan.
Just write it down. You know, it's not that hard. Or maybe the Grille can do a better job. He did put his hand up earlier today wanting to lead this. First-year player saying, I want to be captain.
The Bryce Gibbs effect.
Well, he didn't say he wanted to be captain. He just wanted to be in the leadership group, didn't he?
Yeah, but he hadn't played a game for the club.
Oh, yeah.
The number one fan of Sam McClure from Norf, Grille.
Good evening. Fight the power.
Australia's major exporter of baby formula and the head of the Focus on Family ticket at Hawthorn, Penal.
G'day.
Is your slogan, it's okay to say no to the tit?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Let me write this down quickly. Rolled gold.
And joining us finally from the Skype void of the last few months, we have some Richmond goo here, and it's Richo at the Disco's making his long-awaited return.
Say something. You're here.
You cut out!
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh,
no way.
No.
Can't be.
Maybe he did have legitimate F-ups with
Oh, sorry. What was that?
Is he there?
Yeah. Hang on. Richo?
You know what? Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. I don't know.
Oh, shit. For all our listeners, Richard Disco was coming fine prior to us starting.
It was all going swimmingly.
He's doing this for effect, isn't he?
Maybe he is. Maybe he is.
No, I think he must just be on NBN or something. Right. He's finally fixed his Windows Vista issues, but then in the meantime he's upgraded to NBN, and now he's gone forever.
That poor prick can't take a break.
I mean, you can only cry wolf so many times. I don't know if we can believe him beyond this.
Not working, is it?
It is.
There we go.
There we go.
Hey, you got me.
Got him. Yeah.
What did you do 5 minutes ago?
I don't know. I might have touched the... I don't know. I am on a bit of a dodgy internet here. I've just moved recently and haven't set up my own. I'm piggybacking off a neighbour who's stupid that left theirs open. So.
Hang on, your bro
was
is
close.
Wi-Fi internet?
Pirate internets.
Pirating. Yeah, and I'm
We
downloading
at
off...
Vlogcast don't approve of piggybacking on someone's internet.
This is just the ongoing party. This is what happened after the Richmond flag with all the free alcohol in Swan Street Liquorland. It's like we're just taking everything at this stage. Is that right?
I'm chewing on
Raping,
it.
pillaging.
Yeah. Pillaging.
I was going to
The
say
spoils of
probably all
victory.
you've probably all spent all your income on bloody memorabilia and
Carlton draft slabs with special
lithograph.
Richmond cans.
I spent $3 on a night poster outside the ground. That's all I've spent from memorabilia so far.
I bought the thing at the family day. It was like the season review book. It was like the footy record equivalent. It wasn't the grand final record. It
I
was
didn't go to the family.
winning thing.
I was too...
Did anyone buy the limited edition lithograph of the young girl?
I believe you could get that for free.
Because that was
By the Luke Hodge One Club Legend memorabilia.
I'm going to do a Sam Newman and get that girl on the outside of my house, like he did with Pamela Anderson.
Goo or tears. A lot's happened over the last month. It can be for anything you want. In Richo's case, it can be the build-up from however long we've been waiting to get him on here in...
Am I allowed to go over the grand final, or is it too late?
Nah, you can go over the grand final. We've been waiting for it.
It's a soft kill.
Not
though.
too late, Dan.
I'm still seeing Richmond supporters wearing Richmond attire everywhere I go. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can wear it. I think you can wear Richmond stuff like for the next.
No, I don't think you can.
Yeah, no, you can.
No.
You can do whatever the fuck
No.
you want, Dan.
Unless your
It
team's
bugs
won a
me.
premiership this millennium, you don't understand.
It bugs me when people wear their team's attire the next day after a win. Like if Richmond supporters did it
Aggressive
after the
scarf
grand final,
wearing, Dan. We're going to find
can-
you
I can-
wear our scarves aggressively at you.
I can understand if you did it after the grand final, but if you're still wearing your Richmond stuff now, then you're a bit of a flog, really. It's a look at me sort of thing.
If you've gone home after the game, you shouldn't be wearing that stuff.
No.
Well,
The next
I mean-
morning. The next morning
Oh,
after a grand final win, and even like maybe into the next
The
week.
next morning
Fair
is fine.
enough.
The next year.
After
But,
that, I mean, it's...
There's got to be some statute of limitations.
Depends what you define as gear. Like I've got a T-shirt with the
You've
old.
seen these people. You've seen these people who wear their shit in the middle of summer, walking down the streets.
Yeah, like
you
the
know
teach.
what sort of socio-demographic they fit, and they are bottom feeders.
Who the fuck's wearing a scarf in the middle of summer?
Well, not scarf, T-shirts, and fucking.
It's not
shit.
exclusive to scarves. I'm seeing people with T-shirts. I'm seeing them with the jumpers on. I saw one person with a beanie on during the week.
Well, that's
I mean,
fucked up.
Yeah,
I mean-
bottom feeders. I mean, you have a look at them. They're always
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I live in Midland, in Perth. You're pretty much preaching to the choir on that demographic. So,
Yeah, I mean, God help us if Fremantle ever win a grand final.
oh my god.
Well, you're the only one that has to worry about that, Penal. The rest of us can
We
pretty easy.
won't have to worry about that down here.
Well, I don't think
Oh.
we're going to have to worry about it over here either, because it's probably not going to
You'll,
happen.
you'll have silent alarm on the tram down from Fitzroy wearing his Freo gear, but that's about it in Melbourne. Yeah, so can Richo have his goo now, Dan?
Yes, he can. Yeah, go on.
Well, my goo is for everybody who, all the Richmond fans, like the last 10 or 15 minutes of the grand final, I just stood up and looked around at all these people who were crying and hugging each other, and like I was just laughing like an idiot. But it's ridiculous that it means so much to people, but it does. And it's like 37 years of having shit heaped on us, and it was just happy. It was just happy times for people. It was just nice.
Particularly in a place like Melbourne. Your football team
Yeah,
is inseparable
it's
from your
Richmond
identity
is-
in a sense.
absolutely. And Richmond is such a part of it. I mean, with the suburb itself, I mean, that was amazing because it's right there. For me, my family's been in Richmond for 65 years, had a connection to it, so that was nice. And it was just, it was beautiful to see people like Richo and Benny Gale, people who played their hearts out for over a decade for the club and, see some success finally. It was nice.
It's nice to see some genuine, last couple of years, and even 2007 with Geelong, just these outpourings from these real,
Yeah.
traditional
I mean, I
clubs.
was so wrapped for the Geelong people when they won it in 2007. Like, I was ringing all my Geelong friends and just going, unreal.
Yeah.
So happy for you.
Especially after years of, grand finals won by interstate franchises like Sydney and Hawthorn.
Hawthorn.
Yeah.
And Geelong had had a bit of the collywobbles about it. They'd lost. We've been the opposite, really. We haven't got near it for a long time.
And same with the Dogs. They hadn't got there in...
So could I just
Yeah, well, the
could
Dogs
I
have
just
a lot
say,
of
Richo,
preachers.
that I agree with you completely. Like those are exactly the same sort of feelings that I felt in terms of just seeing sheer joy and hugging random strangers that I got to feel in 2015 when we finally
I knew
broke
you
through
would.
and broke our long premiership drought of 12 months. So
I knew that was coming. But 2008
You trash
must
any
have seemed like a
trash
long
any
time.
stores or cars
Well,
after the game, Richo?
No, I ended up at the Royal Tennis Club that I didn't even know existed, which is just off Punt Road. Like, that French game, that indoor tennis thing? It's a posh game.
I know where that place is.
Yeah, it's on Sherwood Street, just off Punt Road. I ended up there drinking Moet Chandon till about 10:30, and then went into the city for dinner. It's nice. It's quite civilised,
Well, at least you were.
Yes, well, you can take the Richmond out of the boy, but sometimes you can't take the boy out of Richmond, or whatever that
Yeah,
thing is.
yeah, you flip that around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
except the opposite of that.
and
You can take the boy out of Richmond.
and nothing says civilized like ordering a glass of Moet.
Hey, smartass, that's actually how the French pronounce it.
Oh, bullshit.
It's true. Look it up. Anyway, we didn't order glasses. We drank bottles, mate. We had to put it
and
on.
like
Frenchies are
civilized
there.
people.
Did they put
we
did
poured
they
it
put
into
a
glasses.
giant
Order
stuffy
glasses.
sugar on
You
the
just
end of
grab
it?
the bottle. Shut up. No.
Who wants to go next?
Yeah,
I've
someone
got
go.
tears for me. North Melbourne, Everton, New York Giants, New York Knicks, Philadelphia Phillies.
It serves you right.
You should, if
New
you're
York
supporting the
Rangers.
Knicks, you don't deserve to complain. You should know better than to get your hopes up.
I am devoid of hope out of any of my teams.
Yeah, not surprisingly.
Like,
You
it
got
sucks.
taste. Pick terrible teams to follow.
Yeah, but at least those teams will never relocate.
Oh, never say never in America. Well, I guess the Knicks won't.
No, the Knicks and the Giants aren't going anywhere. And
Phillies
Everton,
probably.
you pick some pretty established teams.
Yeah, well done.
No relocations for you, Le Grille, at least.
Yep.
Except for North.
Yeah, except for Norf.
Oh, fuck off.
I've got mild goo because we managed to offload that fat, useless slob Motlop, and we got pick 19 for him. I couldn't believe it.
Disgrace.
But it was tarnished a little bit by the fact that we had to give up 19 to get Ablett when it would have been super sweet. Would have been super sweet if we could have dropped pick 22 for Ablett and kept pick 19. That would have been hilarious.
Oh, but all the luminaries of the Geelong board, like Dr. Giroux, was saying there was no way they were going to give up pick 19 under any circumstances.
Well,
They had
it looked
to.
like
That was the deal. They
Yeah.
wouldn't have got it if they weren't going to give it up.
Fucking charity pick to trade in Ablett teach.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that there's no way that he was worth pick 19.
They broke
So
the
there's only
formula.
one. There's only one reason we got pick 19,
Yes.
and that was to get Ablett back.
Yeah, so they give it to
but I
Gold.
would
It's
have
just like
loved-
how Melbourne got the first rounder for
Yep.
Frawley. It was a disguised priority pick then, and this was a disguised
Yeah.
Ablett draft bargaining chip.
And I reckon that does
But
link
some
into
people
the-
can't see it, like when it's straight in front of their face. Some people just refuse to.
I reckon it
the
does
truth.
link into them taking Weller for pick 2, though. Because they've gone...
We'll come to that.
Oh, that is the biggest smash and grab going around, that one.
Fucking hell.
No. When I saw that, I thought they were getting pick 5 back.
We'll come to it, but
Maybe.
can you imagine that the greatest trade heist of all time happened to involve Fremantle, and it was Fremantle who made out like bandits, not the other way around?
Yeah.
Considering Fremantle's
That's
first
such a big
decade
fucking
of
crime they
existence
could
was
make a
clubs
movie out of.
bending them over.
How did the AFL approve that deal?
Oh, it's just
It's
Because they had a
surpassed,
hand in
it has
it.
surpassed the
I'm
Hodge
telling you.
trade. It's surpassed the Crode for pick 1 trade.
I would be surprised if it went down like this. The trade got told and the AFL have gone, no, you're not keeping that pick. We've looked after you enough. You're going to take an established player.
I mean, we'll come to it, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but you can't judge it now. You're just going to have to wait because Weller could win a Brownlow and Fremantle could draft a dud with pick 2.
which they probably will.
The Hodge for Crow trade only looks good because we drafted Hodge and Mitchell with those picks.
And you got Crode back.
But Freo also got McFarlane, who was a champion for them.
Yeah.
True,
That's a good
but
point.
he was almost steak knives in that trade.
He was, but he turned out to be a bloody good, better player than Crode.
It's effectively, when you factor that Crode came back for fuck all, it is Hodge and Mitchell
Crode
for
went back for
McFarlane.
pick 10. Wasn't fuck all.
They
Yeah, but
paid
then
pick 10 to
they
get him
wasted
back.
that on us.
I think so.
Yeah,
Something like
but
that.
then
I thought it
Freo
was a
wasted
second
that on
rounder.
a spud. So again, it's the same thing as Weller. If they waste pick 2 on a spud, then
Yeah.
Anyway, who wants to go next? Who hasn't gone?
I guess I'll go and I'll have tears for this whole Lisa Wilkinson kerfuffle. Not because I particularly care about it or am taking one side over the other, but just in the sense of how can this be front page news for
How the
what
fuck
was
could
it,
she
4
be-
or 5 nights in a row?
How the fuck can she be diddling Peter Fitzsimons? The fucking pirate-looking motherfucker.
I was going to say, do you reckon he takes his fucking bandana off in bed?
Nah, he keeps it on.
Yeah.
He would.
He told her he was a footballer and she didn't look into it.
She's the one
He was
who's
actually
actually
a rugby
fucking
union
blindfold.
Jesus, I mean, she's, reasonable.
He's all right for a
Pretty good.
58-year-old. Whatever she is.
Yeah, and he's just a cockhead.
He's a windbag.
He's been punching above his weight for his whole life.
That's right.
Well,
No
apparently,
football
like, 'cause
talent
I
played
was
for
a little
Australia.
young. I was a little young to see him play like Union, but apparently he was sort of like, put it this way, he thought more highly of his career than perhaps was warranted.
I think he only played like 6 or 8 games for the Wallabies, but he had a good career in France, I think.
So he's basically Lumumba, dribbling a whole bunch of shit based on an okay career.
Without the documentary.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but that fucking bandana is a massive attention whoring
Oh,
Yeah.
thing.
It was
so
funny because I was talking to my mates about it a few years ago, and I go, that fucking bandana's a bit rough, isn't it? And my mate goes, he's got cancer, you know. And bullshit. And he let me go for about 10 minutes, and he goes, no, he doesn't really have cancer. I felt like the biggest cunt.
But yeah, anything more on that?
Well, it just like how vapid can people be that like the demand for news means that this is the first thing that they want to hear about on a daily basis, like in terms of the progress of the story.
Are you surprised though? I mean, we've got bloody every time Kim Kardashian gets semen ejaculated into her vagina that breaks the seal of the egg, becoming big news. Why do you think that this isn't?
Is there a link to that?
Probably. I'm not going to look it up.
There'd be video of it.
That fucking slut would have done it, I can tell you.
Not just her, Kanye too.
Do you reckon he goes, I'm going to let you finish? And it just blows it just
all time.
That's the greatest sex tape of all time.
So I'll just leave with a quote from an actual journalist in the AFR writing about this issue. More often than not, Lisa reads an auto cue, then takes a 6-figure fee to spruik garlic pills, a transaction as antithetical to journalism as that garlic is to vampires. She's as much a journalist as her husband is, and his columns are best remembered for their crowning knock-knock jokes.
That's brilliant.
That's a pretty savage.
That's a takedown and a half. Like, because the media contingent generally look after each other too, so...
Yeah.
It's warranted in this case, so especially for the...
That sounds like a print journalist just furious over the way their industry's going compared to the fucking TV types that do fucking so much less. It's basically like a real journalist getting pissed off over the fact that Basil's on TV, or the guy writing that Brad McNamara piece a year or so ago. Now that was an almighty whack.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of sour grapes, but I'm sure they'll take solace out of the fact that TV is probably going to go the way of the dodo eventually as well with streaming and on demand.
Who hasn't gone?
I got tears. I think I kind of broke the law today. Kind of.
This is new.
I was at Westfield at Knox.
Scoping out Aaron Meadows.
Oh, yeah, Aaron's stomping ground. Well, he won't be there for a while.
Not for 3 more months.
No, yeah, he's probably fisted as we speak right now. Anyway, I was at Knox. I was having a coffee with my partner, and this teenage kid in his school kit comes up to me and asks if I can buy a packet of 20-pack cigarettes from him from Woolies that were nearby. And I'm like, can you get someone else to do it? And my girlfriend's like just shaking her head at me, and he's like, oh no, I got no one else. Can you just do it, mate? I got the money here. And I'm like, oh fine, whatever. I'll go do it. So he gives me $25 to get like a pack of Winfield 20-pack or something. I give it to him. Doesn't say thank you. Just walks off. So yeah, ungrateful little shit. And he probably 16, 17 years old. So I'm finishing my coffee, and about 10 minutes later, the kid's walking back with what appears to be his mother, and it looks like he's ratted out on me. He pointed me out from a distance, and the mother's come up to me yelling at me saying, how dare you buy smokes for my son? And I've gone, and my mouth's kind of open, and I don't know what to say, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. She's like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. What gives you the right to do that? And my girlfriend's just sort of giggling to herself, and I'm saying, well, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, you know, maybe your son shouldn't smoke. And she, well, that still doesn't mean you can just go and buy my son smokes. He's only 17 years old. And my girlfriend chimes in with, no, you don't have to get angry. Just have a smoke. And she lost it. She's like, fuck you. And I'm like, let's just get up and go. And we were walking, and she's yelling, I'm going to get security to get you guys kicked out. I'm going to follow you to your car and get your number plate. And I'm just like, just keep walking. And she didn't follow us, but I looked back at the kid, and I just gave him a really, I wanted to say, why the fuck did you sell me out? You could have just said, oh, he's gone. So we just left, and she, luckily, I don't think she followed us or got my plate. But yeah, I felt like sick in the guts when I got in the car, to be honest, because I didn't feel right doing it afterwards. Because, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal, but it's illegal. You can't do it. But the mum was like, she was fuming. And I felt sick in the guts. It's like, I need to get out of here.
What made you do it in the first place, I guess?
Well, I said no initially because I didn't really want to do it. And he's like, and I said to him, can you get one of your mates or someone else to do it? And he's like, I got no one else here. Can you just do it? And the coffee place I was at, it's called Michelle's. It's right near Woolies in that shopping centre, and I'm like, well, all right, just wait here, I'll just go do it. And it only took me like 5 minutes to do it, and and when he left, I thought that would be it. And he comes back with his mother, and she must have caught him with the smokes or something, and then probably demanded, well, who got you the smokes? And he just sold me out, a little shit. He should have just
fucking stool pigeon. You should have shivved him.
What's that?
Should have shivved the little stool pigeon.
Dan's going to appear on like one of those fucking current affair shows.
Menace to society.
Seedy cunts who buy cigarettes for little kids.
Does it make you feel big buying cigarettes for underage kids? Mr. Dan, wait, Mr. Dan.
Oh yeah, get those current affair guys following me and shit.
And then Lisa Wilkinson can put it on her show.
Yeah, she'll be on the project now. So.
Oh, it's Tracy Grimshaw will say something disparaging about me. I feel sick now just talking about it because that mum was fuming. And she had every right to be fuming because I shouldn't have done it. But I don't see it as a big deal,
I sort of agree with you, but at the same time...
Yeah, I reluctantly did it. And, I mean, had I known that I'd have to put up with an angry parent, I would have definitely not gone ahead with it. Oh, and another little thing, too, that sort of pissed me off. That little shit only gave me $20. Pack of 20 cost me $25, so I had to put in $1 extra to get
dick move.
I didn't say anything, but I was expecting a thank you afterwards, and he just took the cigarettes out of my hand and just walked.
Not a good day for you.
You got played.
Yeah.
You got played something
You
fierce.
got played big time.
I've got tears for... Look, sometimes the AFL do dodgy things, and it did get referenced before. Sometimes they do dodgy things, but I've got tears for the fact... It's for Geelong supporters, really, and the inability to accept that the AFL gave them a handout to go with all the state government ones for their cheek grounds, and that the AFL have given them that priority pick for Gaza, which, you know what, they didn't deserve, and that's a point in itself. It was pretty shitty, but they got it. But the idea that, for all the talk about how much Geelong cares about Gary Ablett, they weren't prepared to give up the cheat pick for it. So, yeah, that's all I've got.
Maybe Geelong were just only looking out for Geelong this whole time.
Yeah, well, that's sort of where I'm going with it. Yeah.
Concerns being fake.
Give us, yeah.
Well, at least you're transparent about it, Teach.
Well, it's pretty bloody obvious, let's face it.
Man, it's so obvious. Like, the AFL clearly tries to manufacture narratives. And if you're on the receiving end of some good fortune, like, allegedly Hawthorn have been at some point due to a bit of favourable umpiring, you just got to go with it. Just embrace it.
Freaking Hawthorn.
Yeah, and
I was a bit surprised at that narrative. Hawthorn wins again / yawn. Like, that just wasn't really a winner.
Anyway, I think it's time to get into the recaps of the trades, and we'll go around the circle. A winner and a loser from trade period. And I think we're going to get some of the same answers, particularly for the loser category. I think there's probably two standouts here. But who wants to go first with a trade period loser?
Gold Coast.
Fucking Gold Coast. Let's begin there. It got referenced. Is this the worst trade ever made?
Do they not rate the draft this year? What's wrong with them?
Like I said, I've got a conspiracy theory of my own that does link into the Gary thing. I honestly think that the AFL have gone, look, you've got a player who's homegrown that wants to come to the club. You will be paying pick 2 for it. We will give you pick 19 for Gaz, which you could argue is probably a little bit over, but not really what they wanted. But you can get Lockie Weller, but you're going to have to give up number 2.
I think that it's almost a desperation move, that they're that desperate to get anyone who wants to come and play for them, that they will trade such a high price.
This is not AFL imposed on them, because I can't see the AFL doing it to help out Fremantle.
Yeah.
Obviously pick 19 for Motlop and then for Gary, that's obviously stage managed because it's part of the Ablett, oh, what a good story, he's coming home thing. But I think it's just they're so desperate to get players that want to play for them and trying to establish a bit of an image as a destination club of sorts that they were always going to blink first on this one, because Fremantle could have just said, he's contracted for next year.
Yeah, and I think it's just taking a player that they desperately wanted, and rather than drafting a player at 2 who might just try and fuck off home anyway.
There has been a bit of talk that guys at the top of the draft, like Rayner, don't want to go into state. Certainly, so don't want them walking out.
I'd still almost think that a pick swap and their second or whatever they got, or 19 from Geelong, would have done this deal, and they still would have drafted in the top few. You know, it's
the weirdest thing I thought about this was when, because obviously Fremantle were linked to Nathan Wilson, who they got for like a second rounder, and everyone was saying, "Oh, you got to give up more for Weller than you do for Wilson." And I'm like, hang on, where's the logic in that? I mean, yeah, he's kind of contracted, but at the same time, Wilson's like proven himself to be a genuine gun in a top 4 team.
Great.
And
Wilson's
like,
a better player
what's Weller done? I guess you're fucking paying for potential, but it's a big price to pay.
Yeah, I still
Let Fremantle
do think...
winners, aren't they, this trade period?
They are.
Yeah, I don't think...
Cheap and...
actual winners, as opposed to last year where people said they were winners and really they got Brad Hill.
Yeah, I think so. They've got pick 2 and 5. Wilson can play. Weller plays half-back flank anyway. That's Wilson's spot. So you put in a better player and you got pick 2 in the draft.
Yeah, I just think my concern is I don't think Gold Coast particularly wanted pick 19 for Ablett.
Of course they didn't. They wanted Mitch Duncan.
No, but they did. They wanted a player, and I do think that has come into this situation a little more. Okay, they've gone, okay, we'll give you pick 19. You take Weller.
But they could have got Weller for less. They could have got him for less.
Oh, they could have. But they also
he did have a contract. Fair play to Freo for saying not caving or not.
But
not
when Freo got that trade offer through, they wouldn't have even needed to think about it. They would have been...
that's right.
Hand me the piece
they
of
might
paper
have
to
got offered
sign.
pick 19 and something else before and said, go fuck yourselves. Yeah. He's contracted.
You wouldn't say go fuck yourselves on that price.
They also threw in Brandon Matera as well.
Yeah, that too. They got a handy small forward type that Lyon might be able to
he's
do
no
something
good.
with.
Lyon do something with forwards?
Yeah, put him in the back pocket.
I realised as soon as I said it that probably wasn't the right words, but like what I meant was turn him into some tackling sort of fucking...
Yeah, try and turn him into a fucking tagger or inside mid.
I don't know. He's been around for about 7 years, Matera. He's never done anything.
Well, frankly, the fact that...
We all know that the majority of taggers have failed small forwards like Cameron Ling and
but really, with that name and West Coast not wanting a piece of him...
Yeah, just shows.
Why would you want Matera when you got Mark LaCroix?
And Josh Hill. Is he still on the list?
Yeah, I think he copped it, didn't he?
And Cripps.
Yeah. I think you made my point for me, kids.
Who else had the Suns as a loser?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyone else got another loser?
Yes, I've got a loser who's also a winner. The Crows were a loser for giving up 2 first-rounders for a 29-year-old, but they were a winner for getting 2 first-rounders for a back pocket.
But then they lost on giving Cameron... No,
they
won.
did all right.
No, they probably won.
They probably came out ahead on Cameron.
They won. Yeah, so
probably.
overall they're a winner.
They were pick 12, yes, and they've got Malera. But I think they'll probably lose overall because they're probably a weakened team this year into next year. Gibbs in, Lever and Cameron out. Probably a net loss, I reckon.
It all depends on who they've been developing, though. Like, they are pretty good at finding types to come in.
That's right. That Malera, he might just take Cameron's spot. I don't know.
Exactly. Malera might take his spot. Like, Tom Doty might step up into the role. You know, you never know.
Yeah, I've heard about him. I haven't actually seen anything of him.
They're actually, a lot of the...
There is much to see.
I think losing Harrison Wigg is going to leave a big hole in there. They're an NFL team.
Well, the other thing is they're without Brody Smith for the year as well, which is a big loss.
Can I take Melbourne as my loser of the trade week?
Mm-hmm.
Please.
Just because, as Richo has already said, they paid... What was it? Two first rounders for Lever on top of a big fat contract, which
but that's kind of the Lockie Weller thing, isn't it?
Nah, it's overs.
I think he's a bit further along than Weller.
He is,
no.
But the main thing is they've given up a first rounder in next year's Super Draft, and the reality is someone's done the math though, and in terms of the amount of future picks that have changed hands and who's got what. The points tallies for next year, and Melbourne are just so far down the bottom in terms of the picks they hold, because I think they've given up a first and second next year.
But I mean,
and so it's like their premiership
They don't have a
window
first this
is
year, and they
next
didn't have
year.
a first last year either.
Their premiership window is next year or bust, I think.
well,
based on
I'll
their
agree.
management.
I'll agree.
Nah,
with
they're a
you.
young side. They got a lot of talent.
Yeah,
I'll
so
agree
would
with you.
GWS and the Bulldogs once, but eventually their young players are going to come out of contract and they're going to demand big contracts and they're going to go elsewhere. And I think they've overpaid for Lever because this is the market. You have to overpay to get talent. And I think they've got sucked in a bit by just, overpaying and probably shot their list position in the foot a little bit at the same time.
Nothing would please
There's one
me more
point I want to make about that. It's just that I understand the point's value in terms of, father-son, academy
That's
picks.
the only thing they're
whatever.
relevant for.
Exactly. But a lot of people seeming to place the value of those points a lot higher than they should be.
Well, I think it's
the price-
indicative of exactly what you've got in a particular
bid.
draft.
Yeah, I know. But, surely it's what you do with that draft
It
pick
is.
that's ultimately important.
Yeah, and Melbourne's track record of selecting quality youngsters and developing them into great players is unparalleled, unprecedented, dare I say. Yeah.
So even then,
Well,
they could say they're
That's
doing
other
themselves
moves
a
as well. Like
service.
just traded pick one out for pick 31.
And draft points aren't exactly
Less
allocated
than
yet
we got
anyway
for
because
sampling.
we don't know ladder standings for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But there was the point I'm making is because obviously the chart that was posted was based on this year's ladder positions, but still there was such a massive disparity between Melbourne and even Richmond, Adelaide, GWS sides that were finishing in the top four and thus getting higher picks. They were just so
again,
far off it.
that's easily explained by the lack of high picks. Like, it's right in that respect.
Yeah, but next year's the super draft. Super draft.
Every next year is the super draft.
No, because it's been 2 slow years now, and that's been
Does that
forecast.
automatically make it a super draft if there's 2 slow years?
No,
But
like
this time-
there's actually been
people-
forecasts on this
People knew 12 months ago that this year was going to be kind of meh.
because everybody looked
No,
at the
12
under
months
18
ago they were saying
championships
this was
teams and said
draft
most of the best talents are basically coming through next year, not this year. Of the teams that were picked in the under 18 championships, like there's a lot.
I'm
of
sure I
guns.
hear this every trade period, though. Oh, next year's a far better trade period, far better draft, the kids are far better, blah, 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 blah. It all depends on the player for the need of the club. If there is a great centre-half forward for a club that needs a centre-half forward at the top of the draft, then
Oh yeah,
yes,
but
the first round.
nobody's arguing that there's not 5 or 6 very good players in the draft. It's just what happens beyond that, and it's whether your
But
depth of
usually
your
in
draft goes
drafts
to the
like
40s
this-
or that falls out at the 20s.
And I think
Usually
this
in
year
draft,
it falls
that's
out
where
in
the
the
draft-
10s.
the point-
Yeah, and somewhere in the teens, yeah, supposedly. Basically towards the end of the first round. Points will matter, though, next year because they're going to bring in draft pick trading, which we'll talk about later. Like, you'll have a value as a trading partner, I guess, you could say.
Yeah, I don't want to get hung up on points. The point I'm trying to make is Melbourne overpaid for Lever. They don't have a
They
first
did.
rounder next year. And crucially, they let Watts go for pick 31, which they kind of, a bit like the Dogs did with Stringer. They poisoned the well and came out publicly and said he doesn't train hard and he's on the gear, or words to that effect. They let that
I think
get
that
out
was
there.
inferred more than directly stated. But anyway,
They let that get out there, and as a result, it meant
They
they
didn't repeat
probably
it.
could have
Points
got
for
a.
Jack Watts
they-
will not be counted.
They probably could have gotten a late first round, early second round for him. Ended up getting pick 31, which meh.
Well, speaking of Stringer, time for my choice of the loser of trade period, because the Western Bulldogs had pick 11 on the table from Adrian Dodoro, of all people. And it's gone. Like, that was literally what it was. Or because, was it the story that Peter Gordon got involved? I swear I read that, you know, it was all poised to be made, and someone at the Dogs started to make greater demands for a player that, once again, Penal said they poisoned the well against, who was an absolute degenerate, cultural cancer, and yet pick 11 was exactly perfect option to wipe your hands of him, and yet...
Yeah, take that and run.
Yeah, absolutely, you take that and run, and in the end they got a couple of second rounders, and what did they trade for Shaki in the end?
They turned Stringer into 30 and Shaki, which is not too bad. It's a bit of face saving, but they could have done a lot better if they had taken the first offer.
Shaki's an iffy one. Like, you put him in the forward line with Cloak and Tom Boyd, you got a very mentally fragile little forward line going on there.
And too big. They can't
Yeah,
play
and that's the thing. It's very tall. You can't play them all at once. Like, Richmond went cold on
Boyd
Shaq
might play
because
in
he
the ruck.
failed a psych
Well,
test.
yeah, I guess the long term, because Cloak's
I thought it was
31 or something now, so... But Boyd and Shaqy, obviously, future.
I thought Shaqy failed the test that Shaqy failed was he cried, he broke it.
Yeah, well, that was apparently that was the thing. We were asking him questions and he broke down crying. It was a thinly veiled sort of test of his mental fortitude.
Yeah, right.
Apparently, you asked him about his dead dad, and that's what caused him to...
Did we?
Well, it's fucking trolling. Why would you troll the guy? Come on.
It depends
That was,
how you asked it. Depends on the context.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's how
You
how
miss
did
your
you
dead dad? That's probably it, man. But
if it's like, because obviously he's a footballing person, so I mean they probably just asked, well, how did you react to that news and events, and yeah, it probably caused him to get emotional, and which
So
is
if he
understandable.
punched him out, would they have signed him?
he was very young when his dad died. He was like 5 or something.
Like, apparently there was question marks over his desire and all this other shit, and then there was all the psych things. It sounds like he struggles a little bit.
That's it. Like, for all the
He's
time
very weird that
he's
whole year. Like,
struggled, he's been at Brisbane, so it's perfectly understandable. We'll have to see how he goes at a proper football club in a good environment that is culturally supportive of young men. So we'll have to wait. So we'll have to wait for the next club that he gets traded to.
Hopefully not North.
To see.
What? He won't come to North. No one wants to come to North.
He'll come to North via Hawthorn.
That makes sense.
And they'll give us a first rounder for him.
Probably.
Any other losers of trade period?
Has anyone mentioned North yet?
Well, did you do anything?
no.
Well, North
that's why they're losing.
for mine, and I'm probably biased, but North for mine are the biggest losers of
You
trade
got
week.
rejected by Darcy Lang.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we went that hard at him.
Well, you inquired.
Fuck.
And like everybody else, he said no.
He went to.
You know
He'd
how
rather
you
be at
have-
Carlton than you.
Rather be at Silvani's bloody ice cream after training group. Anyways, you guys are familiar with like fairs and carnivals and things like that. You know, you have them at the primary schools or in your local area, things like that. And you know how they've got
You know all
kissing
about
booth?
that, hanging around with school children, Dan.
Of course, yes.
Buying
Well,
cigarettes.
you don't really get kissing booths in the fairs around here. I mean, they're more things you see in movies and things like that. But North Melbourne officials had their own booth at Trade Week, but they didn't. But it wasn't a kissing. It wasn't a kissing booth. It was a come fuck us in the ass booth. We did.
It was
bugger all.
Come and we'll give you lots of money booth, and nobody bothered to walk in there.
Was it a bit like, Ralph Wiggum on Valentine's Day pushing that little Valentine's box and just empty?
Yes. Someone posted a funny
that on
gif of
the
that.
team. Yeah.
I choose you. We did bugger all to enhance our draft position or get more draft picks for this upcoming draft. That's what you got to do when you're rebuilding. North Melbourne played safe. They went, you know how you play Monopoly and you think you're clever by buying all the cheap properties in the beginning?
Well, you just buy the ones you land on, don't you?
You buy everything.
Yeah.
You buy the cheap ones. You buy the cheap ones thinking you're clever and you save some money, but that never
I
works
didn't
out.
put 4 million hotels on it, even though the rules don't allow it.
You realise the
You have to buy
oranges are the
orange
best,
one.
Dan.
Yeah, the orange is the best.
That's why those
What
ones.
North needed to do, but they did nothing. They played safe. You got to give up something.
Well,
to get
yeah, I kind of get it. North were not buying the orange ones, hoping that they would
No.
land on Mayfair.
You got to land on Mayfair.
They
and-
They went for Mayfair
What's that,
and Park Lane. Just
They went
Both
for
at
Mayfair
once.
and
they
Park
landed
Lane.
on
They didn't
Super
land on anything, but
And they-
they ended up on Super Tax.
they've.
Super Tax
Well,
or Sioux Street or something.
It's
whatever.
better than where they've been on Old Kent Road.
Old
Yeah,
Kent
but
Road.
what you got to remember is what the colours on the
That's Old
Monopoly
Cunt
board.
Road, isn't it?
The colours on the Monopoly board, the light blue on Povo Road up the front there. That's the North Melbourne colour right there.
Brown was the cheapest, like the aptly
The
coloured
brown one, yeah.
Yeah, light blue to match the colour of the jumpers and brown to match
Argentina.
the colour of their oval.
No, but on that, Dan, like seriously, I
There's
think
a couple of winners at North.
I think they should have been more aggressive. I mean, they
But
needed
okay,
to.
okay, but what
Absolutely, they should
for?
have
What
been more
for?
aggressive.
Once Dusty and Josh Kelly
To
turned
get
you down, was
more-
it not time to just get the fuck
No,
out of
no,
the
no,
trade
I'm
period,
not-
go to the draft?
No,
No,
you
they should have got more
do go
draft
to the
picks.
draft, but you use the trade period to get more picks. You've got
Yeah.
Robbie Tarrant, who's 29,
Trade
who
Tarrant.
is still in his
Exactly.
prime, but won't see
You trade
a premiership
Tarrant.
in Melbourne.
They
Trade
should
him.
have
Trade-
they should have
trade
traded out someone
Todd
for a
Goldstein, who's
next year's
29.
first
Well, no one
He
wants
still has
Goldstein.
currency. GWS
Clearly
was
tried.
sniffing. What they
If
should have
somebody-
done.
Yeah, GWS was sniffing, but you
should've-
probably asked for more than, like, a lot more than his worth. They were sniffing for pick 60.
To be honest,
GWS had pick 11, right? What North should have done is gone, you give us pick 11, we'll give you Goldstein, and we will pay his salary, 100% of it, because North has the money to
Not
do
even Gold Coast
That's
Suns
a
would
good
take that
call,
deal
man.
for Lockie Weller.
I disagree.
Pick 11 for Goldstein's Weller levels of stupid. He is finished. What
not
he
finished,
was worth
he's
was
29.
whatever Brisbane gave Hawthorn for Hodge. That's what Goldstein was worth.
What?
Yeah.
He's an All-Australian ruckman 2 years ago.
Yeah, but he's not
you-
that player
full of
anymore,
memories.
and the game's gone.
Hodge is a Norm Smith medalist a few years ago. He should have got pick 1 for him.
He's in Moffra's bottom 50.
Yeah, well, he had a shit year. So
Well, okay, well, the point is North should have been more aggressive. You've got to take risks. You got to give up something
they
to
could have
get
gone.
something.
They could have gone for pick upgrades. They could have gone for a whole. heap of
Yes.
stuff.
I agree you could have. Goldstein wasn't going to get it done, though.
Oh,
No, but Tarrant,
Tarrant
the thing
might have,
is,
but I
the
think
problem-
that's risky.
Well, I disagree with the Goldstein one, but because we've still got him, we've got 3 ruckmen on our list, and 4 if you include Brown. And there are some clubs that don't even use a conventional ruckman. Like Richmond used
Yeah.
Briggett sometimes in the ruck.
I
West-
think,
But he was a
our
backup.
list is severely imbalanced,
It is.
and I think,
It's not good.
yeah,
But that's where you maybe, if you're trading with GWS for Goldstein, maybe you look at pick upgrades. You're not going to get anything good for him. You've got to go pick upgrades.
but even if we got that, that would have been something.
They could have
Yeah,
got
pick
some
23 and
fucking
Goldstein
pick
to pick
upgrade
11.
for Swallow
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, you could have got pick upgrades for Swallow. Like Gold Coast.
Actually, they probably could have got pick 2 for Swallow if he wanted to go up
yeah,
there.
why didn't you go to the
Bad
Gold
enough.
Coast? Why didn't you go to the Gold Coast and ask them for pick 19? For Swallow.
I'll put it to you that Andrew Swallow outperformed Lockie Weller.
They did absolutely nothing. They didn't enhance their position for the draft, and they need to if they're rebuilding, which they are.
But who else apart from Tarrant and Goldstein were you looking to offload?
Wood,
Um,
I reckon Wood would have got a.
Wood might have got you something handy if you're prepared to do it.
I'd have done it.
I'd keep
Like he's a
Wood.
good player. He's a good
Yeah,
player.
I'd have probably
but-
hung on to him.
Yeah, but at the same time, like we're kind of intimating here, you've got to give quality to get quality, and
I would have traded Cunnington then.
well,
It'd get something
Yeah.
good for him.
Yeah,
I
you
would have been
probably got
open
you
to
probably got a first for him, and then the problem
Yeah.
is you have to nail the draft pick if you're going to get rid of him.
Yeah, true.
the thing with Cunnington is he's quite important. Like you don't want to go too hard, like say Melbourne did with getting rid of all their experienced players when they
Yeah,
got
but
rid
you
of
don't
But
want
they
McDonald and all
retired
that.
them off. It's a bit different.
You don't
Yeah.
want to get rid of the heart and soul of your club like Sam Gibson.
When did he become
that-
a star?
that pick
Did I
90
not get
something.
Trevor?
You just didn't drop him. That's all.
Like,
No, actually, that
Um,
pick 90 something is good considering he was the AD listed player, and we still got a pick for
Yeah,
him.
I didn't realise he got traded till I read it yesterday, and I went, I thought he got delisted.
Yeah, they could have got him for
No, but
nothing,
I mean-
and somehow
but
we got
like-
a pick out.
Why didn't you have a dip at Dan Menzel
Well-
if you want players? Why didn't you have a
As
dip
he
at
said-
Dan
Oh, we
Menzel?
don't, no. We don't want players. We wanted more draft picks or enhancement of our current picks, and they didn't act. They didn't do anything. All they did was they set up that come fuck me in the ass booth.
But you had a look
And
at Darcy
every
Lang.
official-
well, because
yeah,
he's young enough
that's
to.
one player.
Yeah, but he's not very good.
He's young. Yeah, well,
No.
no, I'm not fussed that we missed out on him, but
Yeah, neither am I.
kick the
I'm not-
tires.
You had to try and make a play, whether it was like package up Cunnington and Goldstein or something for someone's future first rounder.
Too busy getting it in the ass. The line was long and
Did you take too much from advice from Ricky Nixon and his 25 years experience, did you?
Oh,
yeah,
see,
he was in the queue too.
you stole my answer for Gornage's question that was coming up there, Teach, about what North did for 2 weeks. I was going to say they hung around the car park feeding bullshit to Ricky Nixon.
Ricky's taking credit for Essendon's trade period.
Is
Apparently
he?
he was advising Duttero. Yeah.
Well, something definitely changed there because Essendon were not campaigners for once. They were prepared to give the Dogs probable overs for Stringer until the Dogs fucked it.
Did anyone tell Duttero that their biggest weakness is still the midfield and he didn't address that? Well, they think Devon Smith's going to be a midfield.
They picked a whole bunch of outside players and
Yeah, 3 flankers, fix their midfield. Their best midfield is a flanker too.
Well, Stringer will help them out because it means they don't have to pick Cale Hooker anymore. So that's
ridiculous
always
little ponytail kind of.
No, that means they don't have to pick Hartley or Ambrose anymore. Hooker will go back in the back line.
Maybe they'll do it that way. Yeah.
Poor old Ambrose. That poor bastard got slaughtered by Buddy while Hurley's playing on fucking Sinclair final. That was hilarious.
Oh, did he rant it?
No, Rance plays on Buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Rance played on Josh Jenkins. I reckon I could have played on Josh Jenkins in the grand final.
Yeah, but that's because Asprey can't. Rance played on Jenkins because Asprey couldn't, because Asprey's too slow to play on Jenkins.
Whereas
how fast do you have to be? How fast do you have to be over 15 metres at the goal square?
Asprey's very slow.
No,
Jenkins
runs
fast.
really fast because you have to be fast to run into
Your
an
goal
open
square.
goal.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a race back to the goal square.
It just doesn't chase hard.
I think we've gone through all the losers we can come up with trade week. What do we got for winners?
Freo.
This one's easy.
Freo.
Oh,
West
Freo.
Coast Eagles.
Adelaide.
I think
West
short
Coast
term
How did Adelaide get...
No, but West Coast
get
traded
12?
out of the Super Draft to get into this one, apparently.
Yeah,
Carlton
because
will be winners in the long term.
So it's not a super draft then?
It's not a Super Draft. It's West Coast have gone all in on this year instead, which is a
yeah,
pretty
because
risky
I think
ploy.
what they're doing. There's a few mature age WA players that are around that mark with all the picks that they got, and I think they want them all.
Another Tom Doty type.
They're in no man's land, the Eagles. They think
Are you referring to their pick 13 with the mature recruit potential?
They've got guys. They've got picks in the 20s.
And then they traded for Cheekwee too.
Yeah, actually, my bad. I did see that fucking future first round trade. I was just basing that off the trade where they got Brendan Archie for a packet of twisties because Always Born said he's going to be the next Josh Kennedy.
But that's a good move because Brendan Archie's brother is where? Where's Brendan Archie's talented brother play?
Gold Coast.
Goldie.
Thank you very much. Good move, West Coast. Think
Because
two moves ahead.
Stable pony.
Yep, the brother's
as
there.
you know, Always Born is never wrong. So
Any other winners?
How did Adelaide get
Carlton
pick
didn't do too
12
bad.
for Charlie Cameron?
Yeah,
Because Brisbane,
That's
like the Gold Coast, I
that's
think, are pretty
disgusting.
desperate for a player who wants to be there.
that's right. Yeah,
And they got a first-round compo for fucking Rockcliffe, or end of first-round compo for Rockcliffe.
Did they? I thought that was the
That's
second one.
disgusting too, yeah.
more priority picks disguised as compensation. It's not good. Like Melbourne got pick 3 for Frawley.
Yeah.
They drafted poor old Brayshaw with that, and he just keeps getting knocked out. That's karma. Melbourne's karma is visiting upon poor old Angus Brayshaw's head.
It's got a bit of Morgan Ashley sort of injury trolling.
Just a little bit. Just a hint.
Oh, I feel for Brayshaw.
Of course you do.
Yeah, mate, the gun player.
Any other winners?
Yes, he is.
I have to say
Pray for-
Carlton
pray for Bradshaw.
because they obviously
Yeah,
won
Carlton's
on the
the
Gibbs trade, given where they are in
Yeah,
the window.
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And they got Kennedy.
Yeah, they got Kennedy for not a
Yeah,
lot,
they got
and they
it
got
pretty cheap.
Lobe for like pick 100, which
He won't play
I
there
mean,
though unless
they-
Cruz is injured.
Let's all laugh
Which-
at Matthew Loeb.
to be fair, Cruiser getting injured is a fairly likely proposition, and apparently they've brought him over on a big contract because he was on big contract at Port, but they have to pay someone.
Hey, why
So-
didn't you guys chase Lobe, LeGrill, Dan?
Oh, so we're going to have five runners.
Fucking why not?
Why not? He would have said no anyways as well. I mean, what's the point?
Well, I read with some great interest that North attended the ladies' draft, even though they don't have a team next year.
They're
That
wasting
sounds like,
their time at
something
that
something
bullshit.
someone creepy would do. Just turn up and
Why would they even...
Overlook chicks.
yeah, no business being there. Just turn up and
So, yeah, what they were doing on the draft period, I'm not...
trying to recruit Hannah
Oh.
Mouncey.
I don't know what they were doing.
That probably would have happened too if they said yes to that.
That's such a Brad Scott thing, though. Like, you can imagine while every other side's trying to revolutionise the game by playing with no ruckman, Brad Scott's just going to try and recruit every ruckman. To
Aggressive
just...
reset.
Well, I mean, we could have picked him up for the AFLX comp, I suppose.
Any other winners or anything else out of the trade period? What else we got?
Just that it goes for too fucking long. 2.5 weeks.
Yeah,
whatever
I
it
don't
is.
mind the length, except
Fuck all.
that it just means there's fuck all happened between day one and
Yeah.
second last day. It's just like all this
Well, that's
posturing
why
and shit.
the length is stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, it should be from 8 o'clock.
I think give the
12
clubs
o'clock?
give the clubs 10 minutes and then that's it.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I
10
like
minutes. You got
Speed
10 minutes to
dating,
get it
but
done.
like speed trade.
That's not even enough time for Dodoro to think of which superstar he wants to demand.
Fuck Dodoro. No one cares about Dodoro. He only cares about himself, so we shouldn't care about him.
Can we actually talk about Port Adelaide bringing in Rockcliffe, Watts, and Motlop? Like, that's going to help them beat bottom 10 teams by an extra 6 goals. But what's it going to do against the top teams?
I wonder how Jack Watts is going to feel when he gets jeered in front of 60,000 people instead of 20,000 at the MCG.
You can just imagine all three of those guys against a side that plays tough contested football like Richmond this year or the Dogs last year or Sydney through their era.
It doesn't seem like a forward step at all. Like, and fucking, we said this last time, but fucking Koshy criticised their players for not having enough heart. And, you know, we need to bring players in who want to play for Port Adelaide. Hello, Jack Watts and Stephen Motlop. Are you fucking kidding?
Look, I'm just glad North didn't sign Motlop, and that's all I care about.
He would have said no.
You don't want to get turned down by Motlop.
You don't want to get turned down by Motlop or Jack Watts or anybody.
Low risk, low failure.
That's like the kissing booth, but you're getting turned down by, you know, a pig at the fair.
Rebels.
I think we said this last year, that all the teams that won last year's trade period were the teams that actually did nothing.
St Kilda kept those 2 first-rounders.
Yeah, and you kind of get the feeling that this year's a bit the same in that if you wanted a good player, you had to overpay for him. So in that case, it was just better to do what you could and just try and wait for something to come along if someone was homesick.
Unless you were
or something.
Freo and you made out like bandits.
Yeah, but even then, they turned a player into a big pick. So if you actually wanted a player, you had to either hope that it was a stringer type situation where the club wants to let him go at all costs, but otherwise it's better just not getting in a player and just make do with what you got.
Yeah, attack free agents
try and hope for another kind of even-ish season next year where, I mean, just looking at list profiles, I can't see any one team just standing head and shoulders above the comp next year. I think
what are you talking about?
I think the GWS dynasty that was prophesized will never eventuate. I think
yellow to back and black, baby.
That depth has taken a massive hit in the last few years.
Yeah, they can still snag a flag, but the dynasty window is over.
Yeah.
I think they believed it themselves. They've been so laissez-faire about throwing away first-round draft picks.
They play white-collar football, as I think Brereton described it. There's no grit. It's all, they expect it to happen. It's not bruise-free, but it's lazy.
Their first quarter and a bit against us was the best football played against Richmond for the last 3 months of the season. They were all over us for the first quarter and a half. They were dominating. We were just hanging in there.
Kind of get a bit of feeling a la Hawthorn pre-2013 there. They just got all the pieces of puzzles, just can't quite put it together on the big day when it counts.
And they're hitting some prelim snags. It's reminding me of Port.
They're 1-11 at the MCG, GWS. 1 win, 11 losses at the G.
And that one win was against like fucking Melbourne, like Neil Deers or some shit.
Yeah.
So it's not really a win. All right, talking points time. We'll begin with the Richmond photo.
It's already been talked about way too much.
What a nice pair of tits.
Perfect. Magnificent. Agree. Move on. Who cares? Did I read today that photos ended up in People magazine? Was that true? If she sold that, that's
you'll have to ask someone who reads People magazine.
Does anyone read it?
No.
I didn't even know it was still going.
No.
Anyway, for me, who cares?
He's pretty dumb for sharing it, but really, if you take that photo, what do you think's going to fucking happen?
You still don't share that.
You shouldn't share it, but the idea, the legality thing
well,
makes me go, fuck.
Sharing is caring.
Oh, Dan. You say what we're all thinking, don't you?
Well, I mean...
But no, I mean, I can't get
she's got a good pair of tits. I mean, when...
You can't see the face either. That's the other thing. It's like, how can you know who it is if you don't know who it is?
That's what I don't get. Because, like, if you're the bird in question, like...
That goes to court. Well,
wouldn't you want to keep it hush-hush and just be relieved that, you know, it's not a pic with your exposed identity?
Unless pay thousands of dollars to look like that.
Why would you want to draw attention to it?
The only way anyone's going to know that is you is if you told the story of which Richmond player you hooked up with after the grand final to everyone who told.
Maybe she's fishing for attention. She realizes that the story is everyone's coming out and saying, damn, what a nice rack she's got. And then she's ready to tell her side of the story in a paid television interview with Lisa Wilkinson on The Project.
And something tells me that Peter Fitzsimons will be milling around at the backstage area. Yeah, but I mean, what if there is like Shazam for boobs?
What now?
Tom Hawkins on there?
I don't know. I'm sure we could put that.
Anything else on this?
Look, it's just an ugly situation.
It is an ugly situation.
No, it's not that ugly. The boobs look good.
Yeah, the boobs are awesome. It's a hand-wringing, desperate, like, it's an opportunity for the moralisers, the crusaders, to get on their soapboxes and tell us all how awful men are.
Now we know that she hooked up with a D grade footballer. I mean, you could have just kept quiet, and it's just keep quiet, and then have all these envious women going like, oh, "I wish I had a body like that," or "I've got to pay thousands of dollars to look like that." Everybody wins if you just stay silent. But no, you have to complain about
everybody
it. Try
wins
and
if you
take
just stay
support.
silent. I think that was Carlton's attitude for years as well, just quietly.
It's their motto. Take the paper bag and shut up.
Pretty sure Lisa Wilkinson disagrees with that assessment.
Let's go to the next talking point, and I've been waiting for this one, and it's Dan's favourite subject, Hannah Mounsey.
The right decision was made. Thank God. Jesus.
No, he should be allowed to play.
But
no, we can't have blokes
look at that fucking physique.
killing people in a women's league. It's just...
I don't care about the testosterone.
I think she's right. I think
you can't...
I think the AFL was currently underprepared for this situation.
It's a he. It's not a...
No,
you can't have he playing...
The chop has happened, I believe.
It's still a he. I don't care. Theon Greyjoy, we can call her. I don't care. Listen, you can't have blokes playing against women in contact sports that consist of tackling or bumping.
Don't need tackle anymore.
I mean,
that's the quality. That's the quality. Breaking the glass floor.
No, you go play in the
glass
transgender
ceiling,
league.
but that's it. That's for payment equality. Yeah.
I think breaking the glass wall is what Hannah would do if charging at it.
Even I'm saying her now, and I shouldn't be. But this Hannah person playing in the women's league will be like Munford on steroids in the AFL competition. She'll kill someone.
Yeah, I
can't have that.
I do agree with that.
I think that's where the problem is. The background as a professional athlete does not help here. As a male professional athlete,
she publicly said, and can be quoted as saying that she wouldn't hold back. She was going to bump. She was going to tackle. She was going to do everything that everybody else does.
I think the potential, the outrage that is kind of from the chief and maleficers of the world, that's now the outrage that's outpouring, would pale in comparison to what would happen if there was a Shane Mumford on Mitch Duncan style incident, whether or not it was a severe injury inflicted or not.
What about that bump from a few years ago that Harbrell copped? Who did he cop that one from?
He hit Jordan Lewis, didn't he?
Oh, they ran into each other.
Or was it the other way around?
Yeah, he
ran into each other.
Jordan Lewis went back with the flight and he got collected by Harbrell and he was knocked out cold.
Or Byron Pickett on Brendan Crummell, if you want to go back a bit further. He nearly killed that bloke.
Byron Pickett killed quite a few people.
Some of the women's games earlier this year, particularly the early ones, they were fierce.
Yeah.
A lot of girls got injured and hurt.
And you're talking about throwing someone in there who was athletically gifted as a male. Yes. I don't care about the testosterone thing in that. That is still a huge...
You can take all the testosterone. Yep. You can chop your bits off. It doesn't change anything. You're a bloke.
If anyone got injured as a result of letting Hannah Mounsey into the awful, then you would just have lawsuits and the whole competition would be tied up in legal issues for years. So
it comes back to what I was saying, like also because you're running professional competition, you do have to, I know this is the AFL, but you do have to factor the integrity of the competition in as well. And I think that in the case of Mounsey, you can let Mounsey in or you cannot, and there's the safety issue and all that. But in the end, you also, by letting her in, just to be equal, quotation marks, or just to do that, give that leg up or that acknowledgement, you actually cheat every other competitor.
That third leg up.
It would be interesting if...
Well, then you potentially open the floodgates, because if you let this person in, then you have to let every other transgender...
Then you have to let animals in.
You do, but that's a big sacrifice just to be a success in a semi-professional sport as it stands.
Yeah. You would open a bit of a slippery slope about pre-op versus post-op, so...
What happens in 10 years' time if you've got like 10 transgender types that are in the awful league and not only are they physically dominating, but they're winning all the individual awards because they have a clear advantage over the competition.
Well, that's not going to happen because the AFL aren't letting them in currently.
No, but what
okay.
if
Look,
no, but if you allow one in, then you have to let them all in.
I'm ignorant in this respect, in as much as I don't know whether or not, like, there's so much about the topic I don't know.
I know heaps.
That's okay. You've got Waleed Ali and the project there to tell you what to think.
Well, I like to make my own conclusions, but
just listen to me.
That's so passe. Let's listen to Dan.
I heard something today that she's not that far post-op. So was that intimating that her physique and her strength and all that will diminish as time goes on?
Probably not that much.
Maybe,
but I believe a little bit.
Okay. Because obviously, I mean, they're going to do all the strength testing and all that kind of stuff, but
it's still not an ideal situation. She's frankly just too big for that.
What happens if you have Aaron Sandilands like athlete that happens to be a transgender and wants to play?
Well, you can't.
Well,
you have to. If you allow one, you have to.
But they haven't
allow
allowed
all
one.
of them
They refused one.
They will. They will soften on it next year. They've alluded to the fact that they're going to do it next season.
Then as soon as someone does get cleaned up by one, then you'll probably see a change.
Well, you can't. You'll be the AFL will be sued for discrimination, and
you can't sue for discrimination over something like that.
When your defence is a safety issue.
Yeah, if you play fucking safety on that.
Men's competition in a contact sport.
And also, just on that, it's the AFL. If they don't want a player drafted,
they make whatever the fucking rules they like.
They will basically lean on their clubs and say, "Do not draft this player."
I'm sure there's conclusive evidence. I mean, there's women's basketball, there's women's soccer, there's women's ice hockey, there's women's sports of all types. Surely, throughout the world, the studies have been done to give some sort of, as close to definitive sort of reasoning as to whether or not they would have an advantage or whether or not they wouldn't, whether or not it's dangerous, all that sort of stuff.
There was an advantage for that weightlifter, anabolic.
Yeah, well. Haircut.
Anyway, there's such a low ratio of, how many transgender women are there in the general population, much less who are elite sports.
0.07% or something.
But
0.07, that many. I would have thought it'd been lower.
But I mean,
that's 7 out of 10,000. Yeah.
This is still going to pop up in all sorts of sports. Yeah. I'm sure.
I'm okay with it in singular sports, not team-orientated sports that have.
But would you like Caitlyn Jenner to compete in the women's in the Olympics?
In singular sports, yes. To answer, who was it? Was it Richo saying boxing? I'm saying no contact sports of any kind, including combat
tennis,
sports.
Okay.
Yeah, but what?
Tennis? Yeah, tennis is okay.
No, because you can objectively hit the ball harder.
Well,
you'll probably never be bigger than Serena Williams.
It's a big grey area.
I mean, she's dominant over her strength as it is. I mean, she trains like a.
But that's literally she's doing the best with the gift she's got anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's fine. Like, you're still going to have athletes that are just whether it be harder training or better genetics, just stronger. But I suppose there is a grey area when, say, a transgender athlete is that stronger player. Like, if she was, 5'3" and skinny as a rake, we wouldn't be having this conversation, would we?
No.
It's still morally corrupt, though.
I think it's unfortunate, but I just don't think you can do it.
This Hannah person has to decide. And this Hannah person was playing sports before she decided to make the change, right? So you've got to decide whether playing sports as who you are currently is more important than being this woman that you want to be. Because you can't be this woman and play in women's sports. You got to pick which one's more important and stick with it.
I agree with you in that sense. That
Thank you. It's like the only thing you've agreed with me.
Not quite 100% that you have to make that choice, because I feel that if that's how you feel, you have to make the change. But
then you forfeit the right to play.
When that happens, yes, certain doors close to you the same way that certain doors close to other people when they pick up injuries or or concussions, for example. You can't.
Or they lose a leg.
Yeah, like things like all sorts of stuff like that actually takes your opportunity to do these things. Then if you make this particular change, that door closes for you as well. It's just the way.
But one thing I will say is, throughout this whole debate, neither side has offered any empirical evidence as to how it all works in terms of strength and things like that.
Because
That's
nobody
actually
knows. I don't think anyone knows.
And I think until then, you can't make a decision. Like, for once, I'm actually on the AFL side in as much as they shouldn't really be criticised.
It's pretty easy to criticise them, though, if you don't give a fuck about the sport, which a lot of the people who do criticise don't.
That's right. Like, I'm not saying...
I do. I watch the Women's League games.
No, but you're back in the AFL. It's very easy to chastise the AFL in this decision if you're not someone who follows the sport.
Regardless of the decision the AFL made, they would have been criticised. And for once, like, they were genuinely in a no-win situation. Now,
and they sided with their competition and their fan base.
I would love her to play if the evidence is there that she's not, like, got any advantage over the other girls or whatever the case may be.
I'd still be against it.
I want the knowledge. That's what I suppose that's what I'm saying. Like, we need the education.
The only thing you could probably base anything off is if there's any footage of her playing in her previous sports, like the other sports that she did when she wasn't transitioning at all.
You're getting very.
Well, I mean, that's the only thing.
But that's down the rabbit hole. That opens up so many other questions.
I know, but that's your only bit of...
Handball's not really that contact either. I don't, if it is at all.
No, but you could make a basic assessment as to how fast she was moving, plus consider how big he is.
But she could always cheat that if she knew she was being tested in that regard. It's like how Murali had to do his fucking bowling tests with the sensors every time he got called for chucking. And he was magically, his arm looked a lot straighter.
We're not going to get that. He's a chucker.
I know, but every time they tested him, he didn't.
Yeah, I'm with Daryl here on that.
I agree with you there. It was, Yeah.
No balls.
Actually, yeah.
No ball.
That'd make a good trivia question. Like, what does Murali and Hannah Mounsey have in common?
I've been no ball.
Speaking of things previously discussed on here, we'll go back to a big point of Penals from last time. And, well, who could have foreseen this coming when we recorded our last episode? But Jeff Kennett is back at Hawthorn.
Oh, boy.
Like the funniest thing.
I look forward to him sacking Clarko.
Within a day, he was sort of saying, there's no guarantee that Clarko will stay his next contract. Are you kidding me? What is his beef with Clarko?
It just takes him.
Yeah. You've got two very loud, very outspoken alpha males who each wants to be the big silverback gorilla in the room. And so,
well, I can tell you right now that anything that Jeff Kennett has done over his entire tenure at Hawthorn, this time or the next time, will be easily surmounted by what Alistair Clarkson's done. And history will prove that.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
I've just got this mental image of Jeff walking in like he's been brought in to take over the China shop. He's got a baseball bat. He's going, this has got to go. Oh, shit. Whoops, what was that?
To be fair, the other half of the China shop has been destroyed by Clarko. It's like Luke Hodge, psh, Mitchell, psh, Lewis, psh.
But
I don't see how you can bag Clarko, mate. He's coached 4 flags.
I know, but
exactly. His choice, mate.
Yeah, Sheedy went crazy in the end too.
Yeah.
But no,
Sheedy was always crazy. You got to be crazy.
True.
I thought Richo was going to get out. He walks into Clarko's office and Clarko doesn't even say anything, just packs up his shit and leaves. Because one thing Clarko does strike me as, he's pretty pragmatic. So may as well make the new start now.
Yeah, not the type of guy to be influenced by emotions, whereas
Clarko's probably waiting for
Jeff
Clarko
certainly doesn't fit that mold.
Look, fun times ahead, really.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of newspaper column inches.
Has anyone asked Jeff Kennett what he thinks of Hannah Mounsey yet?
I'm surprised he hasn't offered his thoughts.
My favourite part, though, my absolute favourite part is, of all the things Jeff goes for first when he comes in, it wasn't even Clarko he went for first. It was fucking Tasmania. It's just like this big warning shot. Fuck off, Norf. You're not getting any players, and you're not getting Launceston either.
Yeah, it's good. Got to protect our turf.
Interest.
I don't get that. Why don't Hawthorn people want to get out of Tasmania and be a proper Melbourne club again?
Tax money.
Yeah.
They want it. They want some taxpayer money, some sweet taxpayer money like Geelong got.
And the fact that we've won about 28 of our last 30 games there doesn't hurt. Like it's a cheat ground of our own.
True. Still.
Wouldn't want
Richmond playing 4 games a year, home games interstate.
Well,
No.
you tried the 1 game a year interstate thing, and that didn't
That
really
didn't
work
work.
out for you.
That didn't work at all.
If that had worked out on field for you, you would have said, "Fuck, give us a few more." I mean, that's what we did. We started playing what 1 or 2 a year, and then turned it into a cheat ground, and then
we were going to do Hobart. We set up that whole deal, and then the AFL asked us to handle it.
We were the first team pushed out of Tassie for Norf. Hawthorn will be next.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we had Ballarat
we were bored out of Tassie.
We had Ballarat lined all up, and then
James Brayshaw didn't negotiate with both sides of government. Boy Dog told me that.
Yeah, useless Brayshaw again, I guess. But yeah, that's just another example of North riding on every club's coattails.
That's the only one Boyd shows aren't been able to hit it out of the middle. It was the Labor Party one.
Anything else on Kennett?
I think it's
going to be
reasonable move in the short term because he obviously pleads brown and gold and cares a lot about the club. So
is it a
permanent? Fucked up your focus on family ticket though.
I think we might have to reshuffle a bit. Obviously, we didn't get Stringer in to be the new captain, which was disappointing. But I think we can still pull something off if we can just get Tom Petrosky aboard seats, and
what about
we need to get Ricky Nixon in there somewhere.
Change it to focus on Felicity and see if she can pull you off.
Does she still go all right or what?
I don't know. I was about to ask the same question. She used to be.
We made a few mistakes lately, like with the Gaudry appointment and with the awful thing that didn't work. So he's probably someone who I feel could right the ship. But I wouldn't want him to overstay his welcome and be there for like 10 years or something like Eddie.
Because somebody brought up they should have signed Jake Stringer. I think that could have been a great way to rot the salary cap. You bring him in, he gambles all his wages on the pokies that they're so prolific over in Hawthorn. And you
back into our money, back into our coffers as profit.
Oh, that's what the Bryans used to do with Thev to keep themselves out of debt.
So yeah, it's just like in a net neutral contract.
And we got that random Geelong floggo for CEO, which it's a shame. I really wanted Lethlean. Looks like he's off to Carlton now.
Yeah, instead of Trigg, who's finally out. Apparently Trigg was commuting from South Australia. Fucking hell, Carlton.
What, every day?
No, weekly, I think. A fly-in, fly-out CEO who'd rather live in Adelaide than Carlton.
It was like
only an hour flight to Adelaide. It's quicker than driving into the city from Pakenham.
True. But you got to get to the air. You got to get to the airport and back too, though. Each way.
Could understand the reverse. Like, isn't that what Dean Laidley did as assistant coach for Port? He
Skyped.
He didn't even want to fucking go to Adelaide. He just telly.
You would have struggled as an assistant coach, Richo.
Yeah, I could understand like not wanting to live in Adelaide, but what's wrong with Trigg that he wants to actually live in Adelaide when he's working in Melbourne?
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, and people leave Adelaide, people don't go into Adelaide.
But if he's there, I hope he ends up at Port.
That'd be funny.
Biding his time. And speaking of Port, if we're done on Hawthorn, can we talk about Gold Coast is selling their game to Cairns, which is interesting. They're going to play North there in the first round.
Why don't they just play it bloody right on the equator?
Play it on the sun.
It's pretty shit conditions. But they're also selling one to Freo, is the rumour. Selling games.
Does that mean Fremantle gets 12 home games next year, plus their away game against West Coast?
So 13 games. Yeah.
13 games. That's outrageous.
13 games at the new stadium, which is apparently quite overpriced.
That's only 5 less games than Collingwood gets at the MCG.
But the funny thing about this, though, is that Gold Coast are finding new games to sell because Port and Koshy have tried to ask them to take less money to play in China because Port lost money on China. Floggery's tag for all of us.
Financial guru Koshy.
They need Tom Petrovsky.
Not the only organisation to lose money on China for 30 years. All you have to do is make bricks to make money in China.
Wasn't it a sellout?
Not even Gill found a way to spin that when the seats were empty. Port in China is the Lockie Weller trade of selling games. The Gold Coast made out like bandits, got a lot of money.
Probably picked up more Chinese followers than Port.
Gold Coast tourism did well, but
those national colours.
Port lost money and Koshy looks like a goose again. I love it.
Can you imagine the promos in Shanghai? The Gold Coast people going, come to the Gold Coast. It's beautiful. No, come to Port Adelaide. We've got
Barrels.
It's quite funny.
And frog cakes.
Pie floated.
I went on a cruise from Perth to Adelaide, and you get out.
God, what possessed you to do that?
I don't know. It seemed like fun. Doesn't matter. What matters is that obviously it docks, and there is what they call Port Adelaide train station. Now, I don't know if that's technically Port Adelaide or not, or it's just called that, but across the road, and literally there was a car probably at least 200 to 300 metres away. Across the road, with the bags and stuff, and it drove past and yelled abuse at me.
Your first taste of Adelaide.
Yeah.
Were you wearing your Norf jumper?
No, I wasn't, actually.
You can only wear those after you've won the grand final.
Yeah.
And
for
only for a
maximum
week afterwards.
Only for like 6 months after.
6 months after. That's the reason.
But that promo, come to Gold Coast, and it's got all like the beach and all that sort of stuff. Come to Port Adelaide. Get up the road, you fucking cunt.
It really amuses me how we heard for so long about how great this was going to be for everyone, and fucking Port lost money. That was the one measure of fucking success, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that was their little...
Yeah, that was the idea, was to make money.
Yeah, like millions of dollars of sponsorship, and and they lowballed Gold Coast on the price too. They only paid them like 500,000 when it probably could have. Most other clubs would have asked for $1 million if they were forced to. But Gold Coast being poor as fuck.
But when they sort of got the game, they were spruiking. Oh, we didn't even give up a home game. Blah 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 blah.
So can they back out of this, or do they have to keep?
No, I think it was year-to-year proposition, because they can easily back out of it if Gold Coast don't accept the sale of it. And if they try to, they told the Suns, we don't want to pay you 500,000 anymore. We want to pay you 400 or 350, and the Suns said, no,
we need to break
game.
Even. Come on.
Yeah. Not now that Evans is in charge.
Do you think?
The only hope they've got is maybe Norf will go up there.
It's basically like you getting given $22 for smokes and then thinking that you might keep the change, and in the end, it turns out they cost you more, mate.
Yep.
But you would think AFL are going to pick one club and go, fuck it, you're going.
Well, they're not going to. If the Suns are being offered that much, no club's going to accept that if they're getting paid a pittance, because Port can't turn a fucking profit on the game. The AFL can't make a club do that.
I guess the only thing that
all right.
the AFL could pay on its behalf, and maybe they would, but from the AFL's point of view, what have they got to gain out of it?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess they want to grow the game, but...
Well, why the fuck did they underwrite the thing? What do you think?
They underwrote it as part of their promotional budget, but I don't think they're going to find an extra 100,000 in there just because Port overestimated the situation. If anything, it would tell the AFL that if China's ever going to be ready for this, it ain't fucking now, and it ain't fucking Port.
Well, it's like we were saying pre-show. You can sell the games to AFL or markets that are starved of AFL that want AFL.
China wasn't even remotely.
The AFL's plan is to impose AFL on markets that don't even know what it is.
Yeah, it's not even places like New Zealand or the US, or where at least the game's a curiosity,
and culturally there's some similarities.
Yeah, it's just instead they're going to China, who would never have seen it before. A lot of them.
Surely the logical move is Hong Kong, big international city, large Australian expat community. They'd obviously tell all the locals. You'd be able to get an interested community. Obviously, the Chinese cultural influence would then disseminate back to mainland China. You can't fucking lose.
But even South Africa,
and all the casinos, it fits the AFL's gambling image, right? Lethality.
Macau's right close by, so if they sent the Bombers up there, Jake Stringer could just head from the game in Hong Kong over to Macau.
Mm-hmm. Is Hong Kong big enough for an AFL ground?
Probably not.
They play other sports there.
They've got cricket grounds there, so yes.
So they could be English-sized cricket grounds, though.
Hong Kong...
Well, it's probably still bigger than the SCG.
One other thing, draft day trading of picks is going to come in, which will extend the trade deadline, which we sort of touched on a little bit earlier. I like the idea of draft day trading, especially if you've got multiple picks.
Well, not if
I don't
it's only
see how
just
this
picks.
works. I don't see how this works unless you can trade players.
Correct.
Well, no, but you can trade. There's a lot of draft pick trades being done. Like we traded pick 15 for 20 and 25. It would be better to do that on draft day than now.
Look, it clearly makes sense, and it would happen there would be 2 or 3 trades a year max, and what it'd be used for is if a player you're targeting unexpectedly slips.
Like Brody Grundy.
Yeah, and you just say, okay, we got to pounce on this opportunity, and you got to give something up to be able to trade in for a player at that moment that you thought was.
But they're kind of doing it by half, though. That's the problem. Like, you wouldn't be able to do it the whole way, like with players, because players have to agree. Whether or not players should be able to do that, well, then that's something else. But
the clubs need to stand up to that. They've been weak on this free agency thing. They need to next time. Free agency will come up again where they want to shorten it or make it that if you're below the average wage, you're a free agent.
I don't think they can do it until the players start making more money.
Well, the players are doing all right.
I know they're doing all right, but it's almost like the until the players can literally be like a fucking American athlete or a European athlete where they can have a house in this place and then a house in the other, so trading them doesn't actually matter.
Yeah,
I think that's when you can start to demand that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen for a long time.
No.
The clubs have got to take a stand, though, in terms of players nominating clubs.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not free agency. Don't treat it like it is.
Yeah, that probably won't lead to players getting traded without their consent, but we've got to find a happy compromise.
I think if a player requests a trade, then they should be able to be traded anywhere. If they don't request a trade and the club wants to trade them, then they should have to get permission.
Actually, like, I think the and Geelong supporters would do well to remember what the rules of the AFL state. The rules of the AFL state, you're eligible for a home state final, so maybe they could work something in there where players can nominate a trade to a particular state.
Especially if you're going to play the fucking homesick card like so many disingenuous cunts like Jake Lever.
Yeah, players nominating a trade to a state, at which point they can be traded to any club in that state without...
Homesick for Melbourne and $800,000 a year.
I would like to see them try to put something like that in.
Can I just say on that, I'm amazed the backlash that came at Tex Walker. Like, I know he was very silly to use the word success, obviously, but the backlash that came at Tex Walker for actually basically saying Lever's full of shit, he's a mercenary. Like, good on him.
You're missing the point there with Tex, because what he defines success as is looking intimidating during the national anthem. They ticked all those boxes.
But still, like, I think that's perfectly relevant, the fact that if Jake Lever clearly said that if Adelaide offered him more, he'd stay put. And then he says homesick to everybody else.
Everyone knows he left for money. It's not even up for debate.
No, but gullible people will buy it. And Walker basically put that to bed, and all of a sudden he became a jerk for telling it how it was. It's like, come on.
Speaking of, Lever's got a pretty floggish family.
Speaking of his family, Lever's fiancée, the teacher that he's been in the long-term relationship with, that, you know, he's been with for, you know, he's 21, he's been with his 29-year-old school teacher for quite a few years.
They hooked up when he was 16, apparently.
Nice.
School?
Nice.
Was she a teacher at his school?
Oh, I wonder how else they would have met.
Yeah. We need to find Jake Lever and give him his luckiest little boy badge.
Maybe she bought him cigarettes or something.
Because obviously the Adelaide board are the experts on all things Jake Lever and Jake Lever's family. And so
the other thing you're insinuating.
Lever's dad's got tattooed all over. He's got tattooed on his arms loyalty and honour. And boy, did that get the Adelaide board worked up.
Yeah, unfortunately on his chest he's got to me.
Well, to my wallet.
Yeah.
Anyway, do we have anything else on the future draft pick trading? Like, this works in the NFL without really trading players. It's all about, this is where the points come into it. This is where Norf could have made you could make some draft day trades, Dan, if it was in for this year, but it's not. It's in for next year.
I noticed...
Norf will find a way to fuck it up.
Notice Paul Roos was banging on again about needing to raise the draft age.
Oh, fucking hell.
Shut up, you senile old man. He's in the twilight zone as bad as Mick was.
He's getting towards Malthouse territory, like old man yelling at a cloud. Like, no, you don't raise the draft age. You just got to have more responsible clubs that don't throw a fucking kid like Jack Watts to the Wolves just because Dustin Martin can be.
Yeah, or Pal Pepper or Ra. Like, why would you unnecessarily hold back the kids that are ready? Right. It's not like the other ones can't bide their time in the seconds.
Exactly right.
They must do a year of uni or TAFE or a trade or something.
Yeah, where they can play in the state leagues for fucking no reason, you know?
Yeah.
Doing it and
Yeah, exactly. Ruin their careers. Let's go to this month on the Bay. Thread of the month. What do we got? Bottom 50's all right.
Bottom 50.
Damien Hardwick's a waste of... Damien Barrett is a waste of steam.
Yeah, not bad. Also, like the Bledisloe Cup thread is coming home.
Boy.
Good one, plugger.
The memes and gifs that represent your team's trade period.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
This week.
Can't remember what else we've had.
The Josh Shackey wants out thread.
It happened, Dan. How do you feel? You got the Flogstradamus. It's
Yeah, I know.
You got it.
Right.
It didn't look like
Dan?
it was happening either mid-year.
Dan, do you know what?
I never wavered.
I got a prediction too, mate. The sun will rise tomorrow.
Anything else over the last month we got?
I'm sure that Bosk had a good one somewhere along the track.
Yeah.
I think he started
They've
about
thrown
50,
enough pieces
so
at the wall.
one of them must be good.
Yeah, and I guess you could say the same for Red Vest or Pack Lunch in that regard.
It's not the Gary Ablett one, is it? The Lost Respect one?
Oh, that one was pretty...
Oh,
that was a pretty ugly bump, that one.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
To be fair, it was accurate at the time with the knowledge that was publicly available at the time.
Yeah, it still doesn't look great, though.
No.
Yes. So.
Essendon Destination Club from Zaka, not bad. I can't think of anything that's been a genuine standout.
Maybe we don't have a winner this time.
We can give it to bottom 50 like we always, because we didn't give it last time because we said it would happen later.
Yeah, give it to bottom 50.
Yeah.
All right, give it to Moffat as bottom 50 then.
He's going faster than last year, but he still could be going a little bit quicker, I think.
Still, good things take time.
Yeah, you don't rush a genius.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you rush it and quality suffers, then everyone's say, "Oh, it was better last year."
Yeah, which seem to see that every fucking year.
Been pretty bloody good this year, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just
although
I would say Billy Hartung at 36 is a very egregious mistake because he should be at least top 15.
Top one.
No, that's Ty Vickery will be one.
Yeah, the top three already. Vickery, Main, and Jenkins.
Vickery, Tippett, Stringer.
Oh, sorry, Vickery, Tippett, Main. There you go.
Oh, Main. So, Stringer's in there. There'll be a surprise, though. There's always one. Oh, actually, I've got a late honourable mention. Let's stop the crimes together from Smith to Vickery.
Yes. The change.org petition in which he was petitioning to the Austrian government to please incestigate the Geelong Scats.
Oh my God!
Just great work from Smith to Vickery, who is
also
you really are scraping the bottom of the barrel, aren't you, mate?
It's not him.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, everyone knows Smith to Vickery is Red Vest.
Oh, here we go. I like this one that got overlooked on the main board. It's from Absolute Madman. It says, "What is the prognosis for Geelong now with them having ASD?" Which obviously means Ablett, so would Dangerfield, but it also means autism spectrum disorder. Which I'm sure, considering the word prognosis was used, I'm sure was a deliberate choice.
Oh, lethality will be on that one, won't he? He'd know.
Oh, shit.
That guy had another great thread. I think it either got locked or sent to the Bay.
What was it? I also like the response in there. It's like it's more likely to be SAD sad. We got for flog of the month though. Have we got anyone?
Any one of those miserable Geelong cunts have been crying rivers of salty tears for the last 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, over that and over and saying that it wouldn't be a trade for pick 19 and...
Any of the main board types that have joined the PC transgender brigade, you can get stuffed. All of you can get stuffed.
All of you.
Whether you're moderators or whether you own the fucking website, you can all get stuffed.
Podgy's been going hard the last few days to try and get a few points in that department.
He's pretty facetious about it, so...
There's so many Geelong supporters that deserve it, but it's hard to go past Subaru.
Ooh.
Well, she absolutely... I mean, my Damien Barrett thing, she started off very well, but then it became a bloody shit fight between her and the Port people.
Always how it goes.
Again,
That's why I have no opinion on her. That's why I have no opinion on her, because I never read any shit fight threads. Cannot be bothered.
The thing is, it's like the Hawthorn Geelong stuff. It's fine if it stays in its shit fight thread, but it definitely has not.
Yeah, and it makes it no fun to troll either of those two clubs because you know they're going to fucking turn up.
Just make a thread, call it the Ramsgate, and just throw it all in there.
The Ramsgate. Call it the barrel. Throw them in the barrel.
It could be a subboard, and then they can...
Subboard the barrel. Or the pie floater.
Never had one of them, and never will. They look horrid.
Good old Teffy's probably close to another account cancellation, though. He's starting to get a bit melty. Norf not landing any big fish is, I think, getting to him a little bit.
Yeah, I think he might be on the precipice. He might be on the precipice.
He's just about ready for the traditional melt account cancellation back with a new one. Clockwork.
His rationalisations of how Richmond had fucked up by wouldn't keep Martin and wouldn't win the flag and wouldn't win the final, and all his rationalisations post that have been hilarious.
Any other flog of the week noms?
Forward press. He's another one that's joined the fucking transgender PC brigade as well, which is no surprise.
And we'll finish on the questions because there's nothing else to finish with. Like, we could look forward to the draft, but there's not much to look forward to unless you're Richmond and you're drafting Patrick Naish, and that's going to be nice. And in a couple of years' time, we'll be looking forward to Morris Jr. too. Delicious.
Did you see the little highlight?
I did see the little highlight.
Twitter? Good.
Jesus Christ.
Don't go too early, but yeah,
it's a bit wrong to be gooing over a 15-year-old boy at this stage.
It is, yes.
It's a big creep.
But yeah, the questions. Vesti wants to know, will I admit that I was wrong for the second consecutive week when I said nobody wanted Motlop? Well, I guess Smeghead answered this best. Port are no one, so I can't do any better than that. But for the sake of it, look, he also said that they wouldn't trade fucking pick 19 when they got it. So, look, someone took him. I'm amazed, but really, Port don't count. Like, look at who else they took.
I'm not amazed. It's always a home for a talented player. He's not a total fucking write-off as a human being. Like he hasn't delivered on his talent, but he is a talent.
But that just puts him in the category like his cousins or his brothers. They're brothers, cousins? I don't know.
Brothers.
Both.
Like, particularly Daniel had a lot of talent, but he
got fat.
They're no Rioli.
No.
Except for Dean. They're more like Dean Rioli, the Motlop family.
Teacher's gone, so this question's probably irrelevant, but Penal might be able to weigh in. Bosk wants to know, players are avoiding Geelong like the plague. How can the Cats become a hashtag destination club?
Well,
recruit 34-year-olds.
You'd have to move out of Geelong. It seems pretty obvious. Like, pick up your bags and move to a place that isn't a complete shithole.
Just move your home games to the MCG like a real club where the finals are played.
Yeah, being in Geelong is like being in another state. Well, it actually is being in another state because we don't really count Geelong as being part of Victoria.
It's more of a state of emergency.
Yeah, like if we have to evacuate and get out of Melbourne, I mean, and if we had to, we'd
rather go to Ballarat. Halfway there.
Given the supporters' behaviour recently, it's a state of denial.
Yeah, it's closer.
I think we've answered that question reasonably well. Not Cookie wants to know, given Norf did sweet fuck all during the trade period, what did the Norf staff actually do in the trade room to pass the time?
Well, I think I covered that. They had the come fuck me in the arse booth for the week, and some of them nicked off to the women's draft, even though we don't technically have a team.
I think that was just them following Ricky Nixon, who they probably spent a lot of time with as he did his whole trade week, accosting people in the car park.
Why that peanut was there, it's big. I don't know.
I mentioned Father Sons before, and Gornage wants to know worst trade ever, apart from O'Reilly to Carlton. So I guess Weller.
Andrew Collins to Sean Griggs.
Highway robbery.
One side.
Premiership ruckman for Andrew Collins. But I did want to mention that I had to check out the Freo board for other reasons, because people keep going with the line that Morris Rioli Jr. is eligible for Fremantle, but that's actually not true if they'd done their research. But I went to see if the Freo board were going over it just for the lols. And I did come across an interesting piece of information that Stephen O'Reilly has a quite decent son. Unfortunately for Fremantle, he only got to 98 games for them.
Oh, ouch.
The delicious part is Stephen O'Reilly's actually, Freo are going to get fucked, Carlton got fucked. It's sort of like, I am amused by that. So I would say that would be up there.
It keeps on fucking.
gift that keeps on giving. So Freo missed on a father-son whilst fucking Carlton. I'm going to say that is not the worst trade ever. That is the best trade ever.
I don't know. I think K4 nailed it with the Jonathan Hay deal. 2 first-rounders.
You gave him 2?
Yeah, we had our own, and we got a first-rounder for Daniel Motlop.
Oh, wow.
Wow, I didn't know you gave him 2.
The first rounder for Jed Anderson is starting to look pretty bad.
Yeah.
No, not pretty bad. It is bad. It's just, yeah. I tried my best to defend this guy early on when Penal would mention Burton, but I just can't do it anymore. I can't do
over.
it.
Damn,
It's quite lucky. He's quite lucky he's got another year on his contract.
And the fact that you're cleaning out enough dead weight as it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, he couldn't even get a game this year.
But he's got the advantage on his side that he's at least young enough to keep around for some reason in the hope that
it's another Hawthorn has swindled us again.
You shouldn't trade him. You like Charlie Brown?
We have to stop. We have to stop trading. No more trading with Hawthorn.
This time I'm going to kick the ball. I swear.
He will come good. Please trade
with
us again.
No, we're not dealing with you again. No.
Could you imagine we trade him back and he wins a Brownlow?
Yeah, that won't happen.
Yeah, but
they're going to send you a broke down O'Meara at the end of the year.
Yeah, you'll give us Ben Brown in return.
No, that's horrible. No.
No, Ben Brown for Vickery.
No.
No, Tyrone will be in jail by then.
Tyrone's a good boy from the inner Bayside suburbs who's got a law degree. Jake King will take the fall for that.
Well, he's a fucking idiot if he's got a law degree and he's getting Jake King to do
That's the delicious irony. You know, there was a lot in that story. It was just...
Ty Vickery's one of those guys who's very intelligent but really stupid at the same time.
Yeah, like smart with no common sense.
Yeah, aren't most of football's smart guys kind of dumb? Like Will Vincent, Ryan Lake were in that category as well.
Whereas Dustin Martin's supposedly dumb and he's one of the smartest footballers you'll ever say.
Well, it was smart to string North along. He got himself a couple of 100,000 more.
And he made Brad Scott commit to a contract.
Master troll.
Seriously, when I found out that he had re-signed, he had a year left on his contract. We should never have re-signed him.
No. But then I was saying the same thing about Hardwick when we extended his contract.
Nah, but Hardwick was always a genius.
Yeah, we've been saying it all year.
Yeah.
Except for one other person who decided.
He just needed someone like Blake Carousella to come in and teach the players how to move the ball.
Yeah, he can't be spending his time going over the small thing. He can't go over the small things like disposal and stuff.
Ball movement.
But Brad doesn't let any of his assistants do anything. He apparently locks the doors and pulls down the shutters.
Normally, if I'd read that kind of an article, I'd be first to go, "This is absolute bullshit." But with Brad Scott,
with the Scott brother, that's so
plausible. It's plausible.
That article's been knocked on the head by people at Norf. It's bullshit.
Yeah, I know. But why it even got to that stage, why it even got published...
I only got knocked on the head because Brad would refuse to talk to them unless they debunked it.
Oh, well, there could be some truth to it.
What are North going to do? Like, are they going to come out and say, yes, absolutely, there's a rift between the coach and the club?
Why not?
Of course they're going to
Why not? Because these days now, the shit and average teams are being rewarded with premierships, and the best are just,
Who's the best that's not getting rewarded?
Well, I mean, you have to Adelaide or GWS this year.
Well, Adelaide were too busy standing like Power Rangers and...
What are you talking about? The best team this year won the flag, conclusively.
I don't think so.
Well, watch the finals again.
No, well, yeah, you had a good year. Right.
We finished 2 points off top.
We were a touch GWS
not
behind.
In Melbourne. We played Geelong in Geelong, but not in Melbourne. We played Port in Adelaide, but not in Melbourne.
Where did you finish the year before?
So what?
Doesn't matter.
We're not talking about the 2015
last year.
As a consequence, what sort of fixture did you get for this year?
I just tell you, all the teams we played once, we played away.
Soft draw that you capitalised on.
Soft draw. We got Adelaide in Adelaide. We got Port in Adelaide. We got Geelong in Geelong. We got none of them at home.
Champion data says otherwise.
We got the Dogs and North that Eddie had. We didn't get them at the G. The only teams we got at the G that we didn't get to play at their home ground was Sydney and West Coast.
You did get an insane amount of luck in the finals run, though, to get Geelong and GWS.
Hey, we had to beat Freo by 100 points to get that.
Oh, bro.
We played the three other.
No. I'm not
teams
saying.
in the final.
I'm not discounting for what you're saying, but I was just thinking your run in the finals was like.
Burnsy, I
It
can't
was-
wait till we're the worst back-to-back team ever. Another 12 months to wait. So.
Hey, to be perfectly frank, if someone said you're going to win the grand final next year, but history's going to see you as the worst grand finalist ever, well, stuff it. I'll take the flag.
Not history. It's flogs. It's salty flogs.
Yeah, like as someone said in the worst premiers thread, I'd rather be the worst premiers than the best runners-up. And it's just like, that's pretty much it.
If you looked at the list at the start of the season, you probably would have thought, if you were ranking the lists, that list wasn't going to win a grand final.
No.
But when you watch them play...
The players grow during the season.
Yeah.
Players improve.
But
Yeah, like Kane Lambert.
Kane Lambert.
that game style...
He's a good player.
That game style...
They've got
Would have
two
been
good players. Come on, don't overdo it.
Oh,
fucking
Dan, come on.
Don't fall into this trap. This is the
superior
trap that
bullshit.
Techie's in. That he genuinely thought if you got Dusty, we'd swap ladder positions. This is backwards thinking.
Yeah. And anyway, we've
No,
got
I
four,
wouldn't go that
champions.
far.
Got
But if you
four
didn't have
champions.
Dustin Martin, you
No one
probably
else
would have
has-
finished ninth or something this year.
We wouldn't have finished
bullshit.
ninth.
He had a freak year. He was an
If you had
incredible...
a freak
Dusty-
year, that's the difference between bottom half of the eight and top half of the eight. But
Have a
we're
yellow
still-
sash. We might not be the Tigers. We didn't play.
That was kind of it's kind of the same argument also with the Guernsey. Like if
you had a shot at all our players, we probably wouldn't have won the flag either.
Like you can't just take one out that we drafted and developed well and say, oh, if you didn't have that one player, you would be.
If Dustin Martin had got drafted somewhere else, he might be in jail by now. Richmond made him, and he knows it.
could you imagine if he got drafted by St Kilda?
Yeah. Well, Melbourne. Melbourne didn't even fucking interview him, the dumb cunts. No, they were like, oh, he doesn't fit our profile. We're on private school.
Yeah, you got to take Jack Trangove instead.
Yeah. Look at Melbourne, mate. They take guys who go into a private school.
Look at where that got him.
Yeah.
But they still try to play like, they try to be these hard guys.
Working class club, Bath.
Oh, Melbourne.
Melbourne's always been a tops club.
Anyway,
Is that it?
I think that's just about it.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I need to piss.
All right, so this was the Flogcast for the trade and free agency period. Starburns joined by Dan.
It's okay to vote no. Get your votes in.
Vote no on what?
Tits.
No, that's not what I meant. I actually
Football
saw
is-
someone walking around putting junk mail in people's letterboxes, and this person had a fluoro jacket on that said, "It's okay to vote no." I'm thinking, what? I mean, you can think that, but don't fucking wear it. Jesus, you'll get people throw shit at you as they
Funny.
walk by.
Because I saw Hannah Mounsey walking around putting male junk in someone's letterbox.
Richo at the disco.
Go the Tigers. Premiers for at least another 6 months.
Well done on getting Skype to work. You've done well.
Thank you very
We-
much.
we-
The hamsters
we-
are
we-
exhausted, by the
We
way.
were worried early when we lost you, and we thought, oh, you're fucking with us, or you just...
At my end. I could hear you guys perfectly.
Speaking of the
going on?
fluoro vest, you know what? That's unacceptable, but it is totally acceptable to still wear Richmond gear, just to bring that full circle.
No,
it's not.
it's
I'm going to
been
go
more than a
outside
week.
our fluoro premiership jumper. It's not a clash jumper anymore. It's a premiership jumper.
Anyway, Le Grille
Fight the power.
and Penal.
In Jeff we trust.
That didn't sound... There wasn't a lot of conviction in that.
I was trying to convince myself, but at the same time, I'm kind of scared that Clarko will get sacked when we lose to Geelong, if we lose to Geelong.
Easter Tuesday. Clarko sacked.
Off to Collingwood. Thanks for listening. We'll see you after the draft.